Hello and welcome back to Sammy's Sweet Treats. I'm Sammy Bell and today we're making shoofly pie. Shoofly pie actually is, well, it did come from things that like people just had left in their pantry. So it's very sugary, you know, it has things like molasses in it. It actually has a lot of random things in it to me, like we're gonna do some orange zest, we're gonna do spices, all that stuff. But to get started, preheat your oven to 425 and then spray your pie plate. Mine's very pretty. It has the kind of curvatures that you want so you don't have to make them yourself. And spray it with a little bit of vegetable oil, cooking spray, whatever says say canola oil. And do a light spray over your pan. Now that I have my 2 tablespoons of the orange zest in my mixture, I'm just gonna give it a quick little mix with my hands and then put it onto my cutting board or anywhere else that you like to roll out your dough. I just typically use a cutting board because it's flat and limits the mess I make on the table. So now I'm going to take my refrigerator pie dough. Ooh. Hard to open. I'm gonna gently unroll it. And I'm going to place it right over the mixture I put on. Now I'm going to use my rolling pin and roll the pie dough into the cinnamon, sugar, orange mixture. Okay. I want to make sure we roll it out nice and thin so it covers the entire pie plate, especially since I have a pretty large pie plate. Typically I'll use about a 9-inch pie plate. And now I'm going to flip it over and roll out the other side. It does not look the prettiest. Oof, got a little caught there, but it will taste very, very good. And like I said, shoofly pie is originally made from anything you have in your cabinets. So if you don't really like cinnamon or you don't really like nutmeg, you can use something else. Now, you'll notice here that I have flour next to me. I didn't need to use that, but normally with pie crusts, if it sticks or, you know, it's not really rolling the way you want it to, you would use flours to pretty much unstick it. Now I'm gonna take my pie plate and put my dough into the pan. You see how it kind of lays over? Now you're gonna just gently press in. Careful, you don't really wanna break the dough. It can rip and tear. And you do need some little pockets in there, but it's best to make your holes on the bottom. And now I'm just gonna kind of roll over my pie crust and it'll help me pull off the excess. And even if you go over this again with a knife to just cut it off, it'll just help you kind of follow the plate line a little more exact, especially for this plate because it is so curvy. And again, if anything doesn't come off, you can go over it again with a knife. If a piece pulls off and you want to add a little more, go ahead, just make sure you press it in good. Okay, I'm going to do this one more time. Okay. A little messy, but it looks pretty good. If I say so myself. Definitely looks pretty mixed. I might have a piece or two that has a little more cinnamon sugar than others, but all in all, I say it came out pretty well. So this next step is super important for when you're baking your pie crust. Now, right now there's no slits or holes in the middle area of my pie crust. Now, if I was to bake it just like this, it would bubble up and I'd have a lot of air pockets and it would just kind of ruin the pie. So take a knife, big, small as you want, and just start making little slits along the pie. It doesn't have to be a lot, and they don't have to be big. You know, you're not pre-slicing your pie, but just enough that if air starts to form underneath your pie, it'll come out and not bubble up. Now that our pie crust is cut, we're going to put it back in the fridge until we're done with our filling. Now, before we start on the actual filling of our pie, we're going to start on the topping. Now, the topping is a little non-traditional. It's not layered, it's not precise. It's kind of just semi-crust thrown on top of your pie. So first you'll take a cup of flour and put it into your medium to large bowl. And then we're going to take 2/3 a cup of brown sugar. Put that in there. Just my spoon. And now we're going to combine the two. Now, if you use unsalted butter, then you need to add 1/2 teaspoon of salt. But I'm using salted butter, so no salt added. So you put in 4 tablespoons of butter, cubed. It is very important it's cubed. If it's not easy to mix and incorporate and make your like crummy topping. So now that I added my butter, I'm gonna use my hands and combine this mixture with the butter. Now that our mix is incorporated with the butter, we're going to work on the filling of the pie. Now we're going to work on the actual mix of the pie. So first we're going to take 2/3 a cup of molasses. Just use my spoon here, make sure most of it comes out. Usually rubber spatulas are like super good for this sort of thing. But I will be using this same measuring cup for the water I'm putting in later, so that'll help get a lot of this out too. Next, we're going to do 1/2 tablespoon of ground ginger, or if you want to grate your own fresh ginger, then use a whole tablespoon. There. Then we're going to do 1/2 teaspoon of distilled white vinegar, and then 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder. So get that all out. Okay. Next, I'm going to head over to my stove and get boiling water. I need 2/3 cup of boiling water to add to this mixture. I have 2/3 cup of boiling water, and I will add it to my mix. Ooh. See, that really reacts with our vinegar, our baking powder. Ooh. We're back with our pie crust, and we have the topping for our pie. So we're going to take this molasses vinegar mixture and just pour it into the pie crust. Make sure we get that leftover molasses. That might be on the bottom. And my pie crust is a little too big for the mixture we made, but it's okay because the pie will sit low, it'll bake, it'll be beautiful. So now we're gonna take our topping and just, I'm gonna use my hands here, just sprinkle it over the pie. Now this mix also kind of sits on top of the pie, goes in it a little bit, and really just will bake throughout the whole thing. So I'm gonna try to cover as much of it as possible. Okay. Now we're gonna pop this in the oven at 425 for 10 minutes. Thanks for watching. All ingredients and directions will be listed in the description below. Make sure you comment and let me know what you want me to bake next. Happy baking!